The roar of the crowd echoes through the amphitheater. The sun burns over the sand, stained red. On one side, a man advances, covered in sweat and dust, his eyes locked onto his opponent. On the other, a warrior armed to the teeth, trained to kill or die. But wait, who were these fighters? Why did they subject themselves to this brutal life? And the most intriguing question, how could a mere slave or a desperate citizen become a star of the arena? The fate of a gladiator was not the same for all. Some were thrown into the arena as mere fodder for lions, while others became living legends, revered by the crowd. But what determined this difference? Was it luck or something darker? Inside the combat schools, every man received a label. The Noxii, prisoners of war and condemned criminals, were killed without ceremony, often without even touching a weapon. The Damnati, slaves bought to fight, could receive training and, if they survived, perhaps achieve fame. But not all were forced into this fate. Some chose danger. Free men, impoverished or ambitious, became octorati, selling their bodies to the arena in exchange for money, food, and a glimpse of glory. For some, fighting was a punishment. For others, an addiction. But did the arena have room for mercy, or only for blood? Make no mistake, gladiators were not just slaves thrown to the lions. They belonged to a carefully structured system. Gladiator schools, the Ludi Gladiatorium, emerged around 100 BC, operating like combat factories. Within them existed the so-called Familia Gladiatorium, a select group of warriors trained under the ruthless eye of a lanista, a sort of death entrepreneur. For many, the arena was an imposed fate. For others, a chance at glory. But was this promise of fame worth the price of blood? The arena made no distinction of origin or status. Inside, what mattered was strength, skill, and the will to survive. But before wielding a blade, each man was marked by fate. Would he be just a fleeting spectacle, a disposable pawn in the game of death? Or would he have the chance to become a legend? Gladiators came from every corner of the empire. Some were slaves captured in battle, torn from their homelands and thrown into brutal training. Others were condemned criminals with no choice but to fight or die. But there were also those who entered the arena by their own will. Bankrupt citizens, unemployed soldiers, even nobles seeking thrill. They were called octorati, free men who signed blood contracts in exchange for gold and glory. For them, the arena's promise was seductive, but how many truly escaped its deadly embrace? Before the roar of the crowd, before the blade met flesh, there was training. Rigorous, brutal, relentless. Every man who crossed the gates of a gladiator school was not seen as a warrior. Not yet. First, he had to prove he deserved to wield a sword. But how did they transform a mere man, a prisoner, a slave, a volunteer, into a killing machine? The spectacle began even before the first blade was drawn. Posters announced the most awaited battles, exalting the names of the warriors as if they were gods. The crowd filled the stands, eager for the blood that would stain the golden sand. But were there rules? Was there justice? Or did the arena follow only one law? The law of the strongest? Every fight was carefully orchestrated, from the selection of combatants to the final decision of life or death. Referees supervised the duels, ensuring the rules were followed, though for the defeated this meant little. Not all battles ended in execution. If a gladiator fell, he could raise a finger in supplication, awaiting the audience's verdict. If he was beloved, if he was spectacular, the crowd might grant him mercy. But what about when the arena demanded blood? Some battles, the dreaded sine mission, left no room for mercy. Only one would leave alive. And with each fight, one truth became clear. Glory could be eternal, but life never was. Not all who entered the arena had the right to fight. Some were not warriors, only condemned men awaiting the inevitable. For them, there was no glory, only a grotesque spectacle to quench the bloodlust of the masses. And when blades weren't enough, Rome unleashed its beasts. Lions, tigers, bears. The empire's creatures turned the Colosseum into a stage of horror. But there were those who did not run. There were those who faced the impossible. They were the bestiarii, gladiators trained to fight wild animals. Some were criminals forced into carnage, others warriors who willingly chose the challenge. But few survived. Among the most feared was Carpophorus, the king of beasts, capable of killing multiple animals in a single match. His name echoed like a legend, but even legends had an end. The arena made no distinction between men and monsters. In the end, all bled the same. The answer lay in the Ludi, the training centers scattered across Rome, the most famous being Ludus Magnus, right next to the colossal Colosseum. Inside, luxury and disgrace walked hand in hand. Novices, called novitius, trained with wooden swords, honing reflexes without the risk of mutilation. They were fed rich diets and received medical care, not out of mercy, but because they were valuable investments. Only after their first fight, if they survived, did they earn the title of veterani. But survival was just the beginning, for the arena respected no names, only winners. The arena did not promise a happy ending. For most gladiators, fate was written in blood, and few blades were ever raised in their defense. Death was a constant companion, lurking in every movement, every mistake, every fraction of a second when the guard was lowered. But what about those who defied the odds? Those who survived not just one, but dozens of battles? What became of them? Few warriors reached such status, but those who did became legends. Flamma, a Syrian gladiator, was offered his freedom 4 times, and refused every single one. To him, the arena was not a prison but a purpose. He fought more than 30 times, surpassing any life expectancy for a gladiator. Others, like Marcus Attilius, began as mere citizens seeking gold and fame, proving that even an ordinary man could challenge the trained champions of the arena. But these were exceptions. The rule was simple. Survival did not mean escape. The Colosseum had its own chains, invisible yet unbreakable. And then, when time and luck finally ran out, what remained? For some, death was the inevitable end. For others, a late liberation. Those who won the admiration of the crowd could be spared and even receive their rudis, the wooden sword that symbolized retirement. But life outside the arena was not easy. Many, after years of brutal combat, no longer knew how to live without the scent of blood and the roar of the crowd. Some returned as trainers, shaping the next generation of warriors. Others simply vanished. But the arena never forgot its champions. Even centuries later, their names still echo through history, engraved in inscriptions, recorded in accounts, and etched into the very memory of Rome. The empire fell, the games ended, but the gladiators? Somehow they still live on. For as long as there are those who tell their stories, they will never truly be defeated. Blood, glory, and the roar of the crowd. This was the world of the gladiators. A brutal existence where survival meant everything, and legends were forged in the heat of battle. But what truly happened inside the arenas of Rome? Who were these warriors, and what price did they pay for fame? If you want to uncover more untold stories of history's fiercest fighters, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an epic tale. The past is alive, and its warriors are waiting.